Trump walks on Jimmy Kimmel's stage, brands him a failed comedian who survives on cheap shots until Kimmel drops hospital records, a whistleblower nurse's bombshell testimony, and mismatched signatures that blow everything apart, then hits back with the ultimate dare, a public DNA test with Ivanka and Barron. What began as a routine late-night roast ends as a national firestorm, leaving millions in shock. The lights in the studio were bright and warm, the way they always are on a regular Monday night taping of Jimmy Kimmel Live. Jimmy stood center stage in his usual dark suit, cracking easy jokes about the latest headlines. The audience was laughing right on cue, settled back in their seats, sipping drinks, ready for another hour of harmless fun. Jimmy was mid-sentence, riffing on some celebrity tweet, when the side door at the back of the stage swung open hard. No announcement, no music cue, no warning. Donald Trump walked in, still president in 2026, wearing that signature red tie and navy suit, face set like he owned the place. The band stopped cold. The laughter died instantly. People in the front row actually froze with their mouths half open. Jimmy turned, eyebrows shooting up, but he didn't miss a beat. "Well, look who decided to drop by uninvited," he said, forcing a half smile. Trump didn't smile back. He strode straight toward the desk like he was walking into a boardroom he already controlled. No handshake, no wave to the crowd. He stopped a few feet from Jimmy, planted his feet, and pointed one finger right at him. "You're a failed comedian, Jimmy," he said, voice loud and flat, cutting through the silence like a knife. "Your whole career? Built on cheap shots. Real people never laughed at you. They laughed at you. Big difference." He paused, letting it land. "You're a nobody who got lucky, and everybody knows it." The studio went dead quiet. Jimmy stood there, hands on the desk, looking straight at Trump. Most hosts would have cracked a quick joke to break the tension, maybe thrown out a one-liner to save face. Jimmy didn't. He just waited a second, long enough for the insult to hang there, heavy and ugly. Then leaned forward slightly, voice steady. No smirk, no anger, just calm. "Tonight isn't about jokes," he said, loud enough for every mic to pick it up clear. "It's about truth." The word landed like a brick. The audience leaned in. Phones started coming out. People recording. Trump's eyes narrowed. He clearly expected Jimmy to fire back with sarcasm or dodge with humor. Instead, Jimmy kept looking right at him, unflinching. "You came here to attack me? Fine. But if we're doing this, we're doing it straight. No games, no cheap shots. We're talking truth tonight." Jimmy hadn't moved from behind the desk. Then he reached under a stack of notes, pulled out a clear plastic sleeve with a single sheet of paper inside, and held it up slow, like he was handling something fragile but dangerous. "Folks," he said, voice low but carrying to every corner of the studio, "this isn't me trying to score points. This is something that landed on my desk a few weeks ago, sent anonymously, no return address, just a note that said, 'You need to see this.'" He turned the sleeve so the cameras could catch it clean. The big screen behind him lit up, zooming in tight on the document. It was old-school hospital birth certificate paper, faded edges, official stamps, the works. The names jumped out immediately. Mother, Ivanka, Marie Trump. Father, Donald John Trump. Child, Barron William Trump. Date of birth matched what everyone knew, but the mother's name sure as hell didn't. A ripple went through the crowd, sharp gasps, a few "what the" murmurs. People craning their necks like they couldn't believe what they were seeing. Phones were up everywhere now, recording. Jimmy let the image sit there for a solid 10 seconds, no commentary, just letting it sink in. "I'm told this came from someone who used to work at the hospital where Barron was born," Jimmy continued, still calm, eyes flicking between the screen and Trump. "A nurse. She says she was there that day, saw things that didn't add up with the public story. She kept this copy when the records got changed later. That's what she claims anyway." I can't verify every detail yet, but this piece of paper exists, and it's sitting right here. Trump's face had gone from smug to stone cold in about 3 seconds flat. He stepped forward, jabbing a finger toward the screen. That's fake. Total fake nonsense. Somebody photoshopped that garbage to hurt my family. You know it. I know it. Everybody watching knows it. This is low, Jimmy. Even for you. You're desperate. You've been taking shots at me for years, and now you pull this out of thin air for ratings? Pathetic. His voice got louder on that last word, echoing off the walls. A couple people in the audience actually clapped. Small, scattered. But most just sat frozen, eyes darting between the two men. Trump kept going, pacing a little now. You think you can just wave a piece of paper around and people will believe it? Come on. This is a revenge, plain and simple. You're mad I called you out, so you make up a story about my kids. Disgusting. Jimmy didn't interrupt. He waited until Trump ran out of steam, then pointed up at the screen again. Hold on, he said quietly. Let's look closer. The camera zoomed even tighter. Down in the bottom right corner, almost hidden under the hospital seal, was a faint digital timestamp, embedded like a watermark you'd miss if you weren't looking for it. Jimmy tapped a button on his desk, and a second image popped up side by side. An official White House released photo of Barron's birth certificate from years ago. The one everyone had seen before. Look at the timestamp on this one I just showed you, Jimmy said, circling it with a red laser dot. March 20th, 2006, 3:47 a.m. That's supposed to be the exact time the certificate was issued. He switched back to the public version. Now look at the official record, the one the administration put out. Same date, but the timestamp says 11:12 a.m., almost 8 hours later. The difference hung there, plain as day. Trump opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. For the first time all night, he actually stuttered. That doesn't prove anything. They probably updated it later. Hospitals do that. You're twisting... Jimmy cut in, not loud, just firm. 8 hours is a long time to update a birth certificate, Mr. President, especially when the baby was already announced to the world by then. He paused, letting the gotcha land. The audience let out a collective, ooh, not cheers, just raw surprise. Trump's jaw tightened, cheeks flushing red. He looked like a guy who'd walked into a trap he didn't see coming. Well, the room felt different now, not just tense, charged. Jimmy set the document down carefully, looked straight into the camera, then back at Trump. We're just getting started, he said. And for once, nobody laughed. Trump was still standing there, arms crossed tight, glaring like he could burn a hole through the big screen. Jimmy took a slow breath, glanced at the control booth for a quick nod, then turned back to the audience. We're not stopping at paper tonight, he said, keeping his voice even. There's someone who says she was actually in the room, someone who wants to stay hidden for obvious reasons, but she's agreed to talk. Live. Right now. The lights dimmed just a touch. A second monitor flipped on beside the main screen, split feed, face heavily blurred, voice pitched down and distorted like in those old crime docs. You could tell it was a woman, mid-50s maybe, sitting in a plain room somewhere, hands folded in her lap. The chyron underneath read, Anonymous Former Nurse, Lenox Hill Hospital, 2006. Jimmy leaned in toward the camera. Ma'am, thank you for coming forward. Can you tell us what you saw the night Barron Trump was born? The nurse's altered voice came through steady, no shake. I was on shift in maternity that night. March 20th, 2006. Around 2 a.m., they brought in a patient to a private suite. Very private, curtains drawn, security at every door. It was Ivanka Trump. I assisted with the delivery. She gave birth to a boy. Healthy. Cried right away. But the official story, the one that came out later, said Melania Trump was the mother. Melania wasn't even on the floor. She was kept in a different wing the whole time. I saw her arrive hours later, after everything was done. A low wave of shock rolled through the audience. People whispering, heads turning. Trump's face went from red to pale in seconds. He stepped forward fast. "This is ridiculous. You're making this up. You weren't even there." The nurse didn't flinch. "I was there, sir. I held the baby for the first APGAR check. I saw the paperwork start as Ivanka's name. Then, about an hour after delivery, 3 men in suits came in. Lawyers, they said. They took the original records, made us sign NDAs on the spot. I heard one of them say, clear as day, we need to protect the family image. Change the mother's name to Melania. No leaks. They reprinted everything right there on a portable printer they brought. I kept one copy of the original log sheet before they locked the rest away." Jimmy held up a hand to quiet the growing murmurs. "You brought something with you tonight?" The nurse nodded on screen. A new image appeared. Grainy, scanned, parts blurred black for privacy. It was a corner of a hospital log. Timestamp 3:42 a.m. Patient ID matching Ivanka's, delivery notes, nurse initials at the bottom. "This is the smuggled snippet I kept," she said. "It's not the full certificate, but it's from that night. My handwriting's on it. You can check the hospital archives if they still exist." Trump exploded. "Theft! That's theft of private medical records. You stole that. You got fired for it years ago, and now you're peddling lies for attention or money or whatever Kimmel's paying you." Jimmy didn't let it hang. He tapped his tablet, and another screen popped up. Official hospital employment records, pulled live from a public database cross-checked with old payroll archives. Name, the nurse's real last name, blurred just enough. Start date, 1998. End date, 2010. Position, labor and delivery, RN. No termination for theft, just standard resignation. "These are public records, Mr. President," Jimmy said, calm but pointed. "She worked there 8 years after Barron was born. No firing, no misconduct flags. You can look it up yourself right now if you want." Trump stared at the screen, mouth working like he was searching for words that wouldn't come. The audience wasn't quiet anymore. Gasps turned to outright "whoa" reactions, a few people clapping without thinking. The nurse stayed silent on her feed, just watching. Jimmy looked straight at Trump. "She's putting her name, her career, on the line here. Anonymously for now, but she's saying this happened. You're calling her a thief and a liar. The records say different." He paused, letting the silence stretch. "So either she's telling the truth, or there's a whole lot more to explain." Trump jabbed a finger toward the camera. "This is a setup, a witch hunt. You and your fake nurse." But the room wasn't buying the volume anymore. Eyes were locked on the screens, on the documents, on the blurred face that had just dropped a bomb nobody saw coming. The air felt thick. Then Trump suddenly straightened up, reached into his suit jacket like he'd been waiting for this exact moment, and pulled out a folded piece of paper. He unfolded it with a sharp snap, holding it high so the cameras could grab it. "This," he said, voice booming again, "is Barron's real birth certificate. The official one. Signed by his mother, Melania Trump. Right here. Look at it. Look at the signature. This is what the world has known for years. This is the truth. Everything else you're throwing around is garbage. Fake news. End of story." He handed the document to a stagehand who rushed it over. Within seconds, it was scanned and blown up huge on the main screen. Clean, crisp, looking every bit like government-issued paper. The signature at the bottom jumped out. A flowing, practiced Melania Trump in black ink. Trump crossed his arms, smirking now, like he'd just dropped the mic. "There. Debate over. You got nothing." The audience was split, some nodding, others still glued to the earlier revelations, waiting. Jimmy didn't rush. He studied the screen for a beat, then pulled up the anonymous birth certificate from earlier, the one with Ivanka's name. He split the screen. Left side, the Ivanka version, right side, Trump's Melania version. Both certificates side by side, signatures circled in red. "Let's take a look," Jimmy said quietly. He zoomed in tight on the two signatures. The Melania one on the right was smooth, confident loops and tails. The one on the left, supposedly also Melania's, from the official records the nurse said got changed, was different. Shorter strokes, tighter spacing, the M hooked differently. The A in Trump slanted more. Not identical, not even close. Murmurs started low in the crowd, then built fast. "Oh my God," from someone up front. A guy in the middle row actually said, "They don't match." Phones lit up again, people zooming in on their own screens. The shock rippled outward like a wave. Gasps, heads shaking, a few people covering their mouths. Trump waved it off. "That's nothing. Signatures vary. People sign different ways on different days. You're reaching, Jimmy." Desperate. Jimmy shook his head once. "We're not done." He tapped his earpiece, spoke into it low. "We've got Dr. Ellis on the line. Forensic document examiner. Worked with the FBI for 15 years. He's been watching tonight. Doc, you there?" A new voice came through the speakers. Calm, professional, older guy. "Right here, Jimmy. I've been examining both images you just put up. High-res scans you sent over earlier." Trump's smirk faded. "What is this now? Another setup?" Dr. Ellis kept going. "On the Melania signed certificate Mr. Trump just presented, the one he calls official, there are several red flags. First, the ink. Under UV and chemical analysis from the digital enhancement, the signature ink shows signs of being archival black. The kind used in modern laser printers, not the ballpoint or fountain pen typical for 2006 hospital docs. Second, pressure patterns. The strokes are too uniform, almost mechanical. Real signatures have natural variation in pressure. This one doesn't. Third, micro comparisons to known Melania signatures from that era show at least 7 points of divergence. In my professional opinion, this signature was not written by hand in 2006. It shows strong indicators of recent forgery or digital reproduction." The room erupted. Not cheers, not boos, just raw stunned noise. People leaning forward, some standing halfway out of their seats. Trump's face twisted, anger, disbelief, something close to panic, flashing for a split second. "That's a lie," he shouted, stepping right up to the desk now, inches from Jimmy. "You brought in some so-called expert to back up your hoax? This is unbelievable. You're ruining lives here. My family." Jimmy didn't back up. He met Trump's eyes straight on, voice steady as ever. "The expert's not mine, Mr. President. He's independent. He's on record. And he just said, your document, the one you brought in to shut this down, looks forged. So I'm asking you, right here, right now, how do you explain that? The signatures don't match. The ink doesn't match the era. Your own evidence just got called out by a pro. What's the answer?" Trump's breathing was heavy, chest rising and falling fast. He stared at Jimmy like he was deciding whether to swing or storm out. The studio lights felt hotter, the silence between them thicker than anything all night. Nobody moved. The audience was frozen, waiting for the explosion that had to be coming. Trump finally spoke, low and furious. "This isn't over. Not by a long shot." But his voice cracked just enough on the last word. He turned, started walking toward the exit, then stopped. Looked back one more time, pure rage in his eyes. Jimmy stayed right where he was, calm, unflinching. "We're still talking truth tonight," he said to the camera, then back to the empty spot where Trump had been standing. "And the questions just keep getting bigger." The crowd let out a breath they'd been holding for what felt like forever. Trump was still standing there, fists clenched at his sides, breathing hard after the forensic guy dropped the forgery bomb. He didn't sit down. He didn't walk out. Instead, he pointed straight at the big screen where the nurse's blurred face still hovered. "That woman? The so-called nurse?" Trump said, voice rising again. "She's a fraud. I just remembered She got fired from that hospital years ago. Misconduct, stealing supplies or drugs or whatever it was. Check the records. She's got an axe to grind, and you're giving her a national platform. This is disgraceful." The audience shifted, some nodding like they wanted to believe him, others shaking their heads, still reeling from the signature mismatch. Trump kept going, louder. "You think one blurry face and some doctored paper means anything? She was let go in disgrace. That's why she's coming after my family now. Revenge, pure revenge." Jimmy didn't blink. He tapped his tablet again, and a new set of documents slid onto the screen. Email chains, hospital, HR memos, all dated and watermarked. The top one was crystal clear. Resignation letter from the nurse, dated 2010, with a polite thank you for the opportunity line and a manager's approving reply. No mention of theft, no disciplinary notes, no firing. Just a standard exit after 12 years. "These are straight from the hospital's archived HR system," Jimmy said, calm as if he was reading the weather. "Publicly accessible through old employee portals and FOIA requests. No misconduct, no termination. She left on good terms. You said fired for stealing. The emails say different." Trump's eyes flicked to the screen, then back to Jimmy. "They probably scrubbed it. Or you faked those too. You've got a whole team cooking this up." Jimmy cut in, not raising his voice. "We can pull up the full chain if you want. Dates, timestamps, sender addresses. It's all there. Your claim doesn't hold." The back and forth was heating up fast, words flying like punches, but Jimmy kept landing clean counters. Trump looked cornered, cheeks flushed, starting to repeat himself. That's when Jimmy glanced at the control booth again. "We've got one more person on the line," he said. "Someone else who was there that night, audio only for protection. Doctor, retired OBGYN from Lenox Hill. He's asked to stay anonymous too." A new voice came through the speakers, deep, older, steady, but quiet. "I was the attending physician on call that night. I delivered the baby. It was Ivanka, no question. Melania arrived much later, around 6 a.m., and was taken to a recovery room that had been prepped but never used for labor. After the birth, the lawyers showed up fast, 3 of them. They had us sign NDAs in the hallway, right outside the suite. One of them said, word for word, 'This stays in the family. Change the records or there'll be consequences.' We were handed fresh forms. I signed under duress. I've carried it ever since." The room went dead silent for a second, then exploded into low, shocked chatter. 2 witnesses now, a nurse and a doctor, both saying the same thing. Trump's face twisted, frustration boiling over into something raw. He slammed a hand on the desk. "Lies! All of you! Paid actors! This is a circus!" Jimmy didn't let the moment breathe. "Hold on. There's one more thing that came in anonymously this afternoon. Audio from hospital security. They sent it to the show, said it was pulled from an old backup drive before it got wiped." He hit play. Grainy, tinny sound filled the studio, clearly from a security cam mic, hallway outside the maternity suite. Voices overlapping, urgent whispers. Male voice 1. "They're switching the mothers on the paperwork. Ivanka's the one who delivered. Melania's just the face." Female voice. "Keep it quiet. Lawyers are handling it. No one talks." Male voice 2. "This better not leak. The family's orders are clear." The clip cut off after 10 seconds. The audience reaction hit like a wave. Gasps. "Holy shit" from the back. People standing up without realizing it. Trump's mouth opened, closed. No quick comeback this time. His eyes darted around like he was looking for an exit that wasn't there. Jimmy let the silence stretch just long enough. "That's what we've got tonight. Documents, timestamps, witnesses, signatures that don't match, forgery flags, and now audio of people talking about switching mothers on the records. This isn't jokes anymore. This is evidence piling up, live, in front of everyone." Trump took a step back, then another. This is a coordinated attack. You're all in on it." But the fire in his voice had dimmed. He looked smaller somehow, backed into a corner by the rapid-fire barrage. The studio felt electric, on edge, buzzing. Nobody sure what came next, but knowing it wasn't over. Jimmy looked straight into the camera, then back at the spot where Trump stood frozen. "We're not done asking questions," he said, "and the answers are starting to matter more than ever." The crowd was riveted, hearts pounding, waiting for whatever twist was still hiding in the shadows. The studio felt like it was holding its breath. The screens still glowed with the frozen audio waveform from that security clip, the words "switching the mothers," hanging in the air like smoke. Trump stood frozen mid-pace, sweat shining on his forehead under the lights, eyes darting between Jimmy, the audience, and the exit. For the first time all night, he looked like a man who'd run out of moves. Then Jimmy leaned forward on the desk, hands flat, voice cutting through the thick silence. "We've seen documents, timestamps that don't line up, signatures that don't match, witnesses, 2 of them now, saying the same thing. Audio of people talking about changing records on the spot. This isn't speculation anymore. This is a mountain of questions, all pointing to one thing." He paused, letting it sink in. The audience was dead quiet, every eye locked on him. "So here's the simple way to end it. Right now, tonight. If all of this is fake, if Barron is exactly who you say he is, prove it. Take a public DNA test. You, Ivanka, and Barron. Side by side. Independent lab. Live results. Open to any credible oversight. Do it, and this whole thing goes away. You win. We all move on." The words landed like a thunderclap. A few people in the crowd actually gasped out loud. Phones shot up higher, capturing every second. Jimmy kept going, calm but dead serious. "This isn't about gotchas or ratings. It's the one test nobody can fake, Photoshop, or spin. Blood doesn't lie. If you're right, you shut this down forever. If you're not, well, the country deserves to know." Trump's face went through a dozen emotions in 5 seconds. Shock, fury, disbelief. He stepped right up to the desk again, leaning in close enough that the mics picked up his heavy breathing. "You're out of your mind. You think I'm going to drag my children, my family, through some circus DNA test on live TV because you and your fake witnesses cooked up a story? That's disrespectful. It's disgusting. It's beneath the office of the presidency. No, never, not happening." His voice cracked on the last word, louder than he probably meant. He jabbed a finger at Jimmy. "You want to destroy people? Keep going. But this ends here. I'm not playing your game." Jimmy didn't back down. He met Trump's glare straight on. "It's not my game, Mr. President, and it's a question of truth. You came in here calling me a failure, attacking my credibility. Now the evidence is stacking up, and the easiest way to clear your name is right in front of you. A simple test. Why say no unless there's something to hide?" Trump shook his head hard, turning toward the exit. "I'm done. This is over." He started walking, fast, shoulders rigid, red tie swinging. The band didn't play him out. No music cue, just the sound of his footsteps and the stunned hush of 300 people watching a president walk away from a challenge. But Jimmy wasn't finished. As Trump reached the side door, Jimmy spoke again, louder, clear, aimed at the cameras and the millions watching at home. "One last thing before you go." Trump stopped, hand on the doorframe, half-turned. Jimmy held up his tablet. "This afternoon, an independent lab, third party, no connection to the show, reached out. They'd already been running preliminary comparisons. Public DNA samples, things like ancestry uploads, old family kits that are out there. Not full sequencing, but enough markers to run a quick check." The big screen flipped to a simple graphic. 2 columns, redacted names, side-by-side DNA match percentages. One side labeled known Trump family baseline. The other, anonymous sample, cross-referenced to public records. A number sat in the middle. Low compatibility, way below what you'd expect for parent-child or sibling links. Not 0, but nowhere near the 99 to 100% you'd see in a real match. The crowd erupted. Gasps, shouts, a roar of pure shock. People stood up, some cheering, some just stunned silent. Trump spun fully around now, face twisted in rage. That's not real. You can't do that. That's illegal. Privacy violation. Jimmy raised a hand. We didn't run the test. They did. Independently. And they're willing to go full court admissible if everyone agrees. But the preliminary? It raises more questions than it answers. Trump stared at the screen for a long beat, then at Jimmy, then at the roaring crowd. No quick comeback, no insult, just a look of pure fury mixed with something that looked a lot like fear. He shoved the door open and disappeared into the hallway. The door slammed shut behind him. The studio lights felt brighter somehow. Jimmy turned back to the camera, voice steady even as the audience noise swelled around him. This isn't the end. It's the beginning. If the president won't answer these questions, maybe the country will keep asking them. We'll keep digging. We'll keep showing what we find. Because truth doesn't go away just because someone walks out. The band kicked in. Low dramatic chords, not the usual upbeat send-off. The crowd was on their feet now, clapping, yelling, some chanting Jimmy's name. Phones everywhere, clips already going viral in real time. Jimmy gave a small nod to the audience, then looked straight into the lens one last time. See you tomorrow night, he said. We're not done. The screen faded to black, but the questions and the explosion they just set off were only getting started. If you're enjoying this kind of wild drama, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss what happens next.